It's about
Period.
finding a good support system, no matter your age. Like, if it's your spouse or your family members or your friends that you make, like, or people that you go and network with, just having them and their support is truly, like, what gets me through. Like, I know if I'm having a rough day, I'll talk to my friends or call my mom or my brother, and they'll push me to do what I need to do.
What's up, agingpreneurs? It's Nick the podcaster. I'm excited to be with you here today, dropping episode 3. I will probably not number these episodes anymore, but for now, this is going to be episode 3. I'm excited because I have my first guest with me today, Hannah Green.
What up?
What's up? All right, so Hannah has been rocking with me for almost a year now. She is on our team, but that's not why I have her on the show today. She also owns a budding new company called Hannah May Letter Co. She does the graphic design work, and she does a lot of our content posting and a lot of the creativity at Nick the Marketer. But she also has her own business on the side that she does called Hannah May Letter Co. Tell us real quick. First of all, here's what I want to know. Tell the audience one thing about being a business owner that you didn't expect.
Trying to balance everything, especially in the beginning. I am by myself. It gets hard and complicated when I have a million other things to do.
Yeah, so I'm in the fortunate position that I own the company and that I work in it every day, and that when I go home, I'm dealing with my children or I'm hanging out with my wife.
Yeah.
We're studying, we're doing all those kind of things. And that's a full-time job too, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you are full-time employed with us, and then you go home and you're juggling, significant others and friends and social life and running a business and responding to people. Tell me about that a little bit.
That is probably the hardest part, is knowing, like, I come here to work all day because I love what I do, and then going home and having to make myself do other things, because by the time I get home, I don't want to look at my computer and I don't want to look at my iPad and I don't want to do anything but, like, hang out with my friends. And so it's finding a balance of doing those things, because those things are important to me, like my friends and my family and all that stuff. So it's just about, like, I'll try and create a schedule where I work, like, every other day, or at least, like, 2 days a week where I'm working on Hannah May Letter Co. stuff and not just, like, neglecting it and pushing it to the back burner.
Here's why that's so important, okay? And the reason, I've got a couple of reasons that I wanted to bring you on the show, all right? But one of the most important ones are our listening audience, most likely, you've heard me talk about this in the past, that they're middle-aged entrepreneurs, I think, right? We don't have all the data to show otherwise, but that's who the target is, right?
Yeah.
So we have middle-aged entrepreneurs who are most likely working a full-time job, or they're brand new entrepreneurs, or they're brand new business owners, I should say. The reason that's important, what you just said, is because most people that are working a job are trying to figure out how to do things on the side and juggle those things. And I know when I first started what I'm doing now, I didn't do it full time. I had a full time job like you did.
Yeah.
And on the side, I was learning and educating myself and figuring out this marketing thing, and getting better at it and testing it on people that would allow me to run ads for them or do websites for them or whatever I was doing for them. And I also was juggling 3 boys and a wife and all the family that comes along with that. So what is that like from your perspective on having to juggle all that and keep it together full time, knowing what you're trying to accomplish with your company?
It definitely takes a lot of self-discipline. I have to go into it knowing that, like, it's something I enjoy doing, and it's something I'm passionate about and I want to do. And it also is an outlet for me from work and, like, everything else that I have going on. It just takes a lot of me making myself and, like, realizing, like, okay, yeah, if I wake up earlier in the morning to work on this, it's because I want to, and it's because I'm passionate about this stuff, and it's because I want to create art that makes people happy and provides them what they want.
Right. And you do some incredible work. I know you've designed things for us. You've designed things, logo design work, and all of our social media accounts. So very, very talented in the design work. I know you got schooling in that, and I know you were telling me a story earlier before we hopped on the podcast You were telling me about how you would design T-shirts and sell them. Tell me a little bit about some of these places that you've gone and sold your shirts and stuff.
Well, I was in a screen printing class in college, so I actually got to screen print my own shirts. And the first ever shirt design I did, I just doodled on a piece of paper and then posted it online. And a bunch of people were like, "Oh my gosh, it'd be really cool as a shirt." And so I went up to the screen printing studio one day before a festival. I think it was the week before this arts festival that I'd applied to be a part of. And I sold a bunch there. And I had some other stuff, but the shirts were definitely the first thing that was huge. And then after that, I haven't screen printed any of my own shirts after that, but I've sold them on bonfire.com, which I've talked about before.
Right.
I actually did one for Jacksonville, Alabama. After the tornadoes hit, I posted a Jacksonville Strong shirt, and it raised almost $7,000 that I gave back to the community.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. And then I've done my own personal stuff for Hannah May Letter Co. I've done a sweatshirt, and then I did another shirt, and it's just fun to see all the different people that want what I do, and people will send me pictures in their shirts, and it's just really, it's cool and weird. And
this is one of the exciting parts about being a creator, starting from something from scratch, and being a business owner or being an entrepreneur is you are creating something and putting it out there, and it could either be received or rejected.
Yeah. And when it's received, it's nuts.
Right.
Yeah, you're
Feels good.
Yeah, I have some internet friends that I've connected with through Instagram and stuff like that have bought my shirts, and it's just so weird seeing them in Connecticut or New York or whatever wearing my stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I was at Target today and someone asked me where I got the shirt," and they'll go and buy it or tell their friends about it and all that stuff. So that's really neat.
You want to hear something cool? So I know I've told you this before, but one of the coolest things that's happened in our business so far, obviously the name of our company is Nick the Marketer, and that comes with some people feeling like you're a solopreneur. It's just you. And of course, we got 6 other people on the team, right? Yeah. So we got a whole crew. If it was up to me, we'd already be cooked, right? So thank God for y'all. But what I mean by that is I walked into a meeting with Michael, who's our sales guy. And this was a client we already have. This is a client that's been with us for a little while now. And I walked into the meeting, and when I introduced myself, they go, "I didn't know you were a real person."
Oh, yeah, we joke that you're the Wizard of Oz.
I love it. That is so cool. That is to me, that's the equivalent for me of you seeing somebody with your T-shirt on in New York walking around.
Yeah.
And you're going, "I made that." And they're like, "Who are you?"
Yeah,
I didn't know you were a person.
It's really weird.
It's so weird, and it's so cool.
Yeah. Whenever the Jacksonville Strong shirts were really popular, I remember being at a coffee shop, and this girl walked in, and they had just been shipped and had just gotten into everybody, and I was at a coffee shop doing some work, and this girl walked in my shirt, and I wanted so bad to walk up to her and be like, "Can I please take your picture? I made that. You don't know who I am, but I made this, and I just think it's so cool that you're wearing it." But I was like, also, that's really strange if I'm just "Can I take your picture?" and I walk up to her. I'm sure she would have let me, but I just got really nervous about it.
Well, look, Hannah, let's get into the meat and potato of today's podcast. I wanted to compare and contrast being a youthful entrepreneur versus being an aged or a middle-aged entrepreneur. I just really want to get that separation because it's so different. Because I remember I started in my 20s in a business, and it's your hair's on fire and you can do anything. You don't have the same weight on your shoulders, and that is an awesome advantage that young people have starting up a business. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So one of the things that we're going to do, I picked 3 different things for 3 pros of starting when you're young, 3 pros of starting when you're old or middle-aged. Let's say it that way. So here's the first one. We're going to start with the youth. All right. So youth have less responsibility. Now, like you were saying, that doesn't mean that you don't have responsibility. It just looks a little different. So one of the notes that I said is, you don't have the same responsibility for family and children. Bills are different. You don't have as many obligations. If you start a new venture as a young person, you're not putting your wife and kids on notice that their life is about to totally be turned upside down, or could be.
Yeah, I just look at my dog and I'm like, "Hey Max, we're gonna do this today," and he's like, "All right," and doesn't really care about it. Where if I had a husband and a family and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna quit my job and go do this stuff," that would be a little bit more.
Yeah, so
nerve-wracking, I assume.
it was big time.
Yeah.
I can tell you that for sure. It can be sickening.
Yeah.
Right. It can be paralyzing. And that's just a simple fear that comes along. And I don't think the fear is any different from being a young entrepreneur. I say any different, less intense.
Yeah.
It's very different, but it's less than I don't think it's any less intense. You have to go out, you have to kill it, and you have to drag it home, or you don't get paid, fed, or pay your bills.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think there's any difference from the stress that could come along with it. But you're not carrying the load of your family on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this, because the world is changing from when I was in my 20s to where we are today. And I almost made a stupid comment, I think. I'm going to go ahead and say it because now I'm backtracking it and claiming that it's probably stupid. Is I wonder, is being an entrepreneur as a woman less stressful than being an entrepreneur as a man if the society's typically in the past has said men are to provide for their families, and I don't think that's the norms anymore.
No, definitely not.
So would you say that today versus 20 years ago, is it easier? Is it harder to come out as an entrepreneur as a woman?
I definitely think so, because I think like our parents and stuff might look at us a little bit different. Maybe not our parents, but like our grandparents and stuff.
Right.
Might look at us a little bit different if you're like, hey, I'm going to work for myself. They're like, oh, are you sure? Like I remember my family's very supportive, but when I first told them that I wanted to be a graphic designer, I think they immediately thought like, oh, you're going to work for yourself. Like, what are you going to do? Like all that stuff. Right. And then, once I told them like, hey, I can get a job and like do all this stuff, they were like, oh, okay. And then they were fine with it. So I really do think in the beginning, their brains were like, she's going to work for herself and like, that's not going to work out and da da da. Where now that they've seen me do stuff, if I went and told like my mom, like, hey, I'm going to work for myself, she'd be like, okay, like,
right.
That's okay. Like if that's what you want to do and that's what you're passionate about it, then get to it and you can do it and all that. But, especially like as a woman, I think that you're expected to like have a family and get married and do all this stuff, and like that's what your role has kind of always been. And now that times are changing, women are stepping up and we're being like, hey, we can have kids later in life, or hey, I don't have to settle down, or this, that, and the other.
So let me talk to the opposite of that, because I think you're right. I think it's changed in the social norms and when you can expect to have kids and get married and all those different things, and the reliability of counting on a man.
Yeah,
to do it for you.
Yeah.
But check this out. So the opposite end of that, in my generation, I'm not a millennial. It's a Gen Xer, I think is what we're called. I don't know. Y'all aren't calling us Hey Boomer yet, so I'm good. But even still, like I don't know. Men, I don't know if y'all feel this way. I absolutely feel this way, in that I feel like it's my job to provide for and protect my family.
Yeah.
I do not feel like that's my wife's job. Now, if she wanted to step up and that's what she was desired to do, I'm also not going to say, no, go get in the kitchen. Like, I'm not. And if you know Heather.
Would smack you.
Quick side note, we have these lights hanging up in here. Were you in here earlier for that?
Yes.
So my wife, so Heather, for those of you who don't know, she basically runs all the background. She does the operations of the company.
We call her
She's
the boss lady.
the boss lady, no doubt about it. And she hung these lights up, and I said, hey, you know what? I don't know that that's a good fit. Why don't we take those down and give them to the kids? And she goes, yes, sir. We all know what that means, right?
She's about to hit you.
Yeah, so the reason I bring that up is because if she wanted to go do it, she's going to go do it. And I'm totally cool with that, because she's a rock star anyway. But interesting. So what I put, that was the youth side. Here's the aging side of that. We have a sense of urgency that can only be created with those pressures. So agingpreneurs, aging entrepreneurs, they have this sense of urgency. We often want to have one last shot of becoming an entrepreneur. This rang so true for me, Hannah, because I had a failed business. I had jobs that were great from the standpoint of they provided for my family, and I was able to grow as a person and as a salesperson and who I wanted to be. Like, it developed me. And then I had another failed business. And so here I am, 38 and 40. And to some people listening, that may be like, he's a young buck. But to you, that's probably, I don't know what, 20-something years ahead of you, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, if I don't do this now,
when will you have the opportunity to do it?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't if you really believe what you say to your wife and your kids that one day I'm going to start a business, and if they roll their eyes at you, they're not taking you seriously. Here's the cool thing about that, though. That sense of urgency was backed up by the confidence of my wife. Mm-hmm. Okay. Heather had watched me through 2 failed businesses. She had watched me work hard in those. She had watched me work hard in the jobs. And when I pulled the trigger and started my business, she said, there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to be successful at this. Because I had proven that I had a sense of urgency behind what I did. Now, compare that to you. Do you feel that you have the same sense of urgency that I have?
I think overall, no. But in ways, kind of, just because mainly my business is online and like through social media and stuff. So like social media is kind of constantly changing. But I do know that if anything happened to Hannah Mae Loco as it is, I could start something else later. Like it's not like I have to make this work. It's not make or break for me.
This isn't your last shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I am so young.
Right. And I think that's also a cool advantage for you and for other people that are starting as an entrepreneur young, whether you're working in a career or whether you're doing this full time, is that you can take a little bit more risk.
Yeah.
Like, so being a middle-aged person, it's a little bit more of a challenge for me to take the risk.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this for sure. It'll give you the flu.
Yeah.
You'll be sitting in a chair. Your love language will be physical touch and nobody can touch you.
Yeah.
I know that sounds hilarious in a way, but I'm being for real. There's so much pressure and intensity behind making that decision as a middle-aged person.
Yeah, because you've got more on the line than me, who's 25 and I don't have a family.
Right.
Like
right.
a immediate like family of my own.
Yeah, if my ship sinks, my family's on that ship.
Yeah.
Right?
If mine sinks, it's just me and Max, and we'll figure it out.
We're going to swim over to that boat right there.
And we'll be fine.
We're going to be okay. But let me encourage the listeners, though, because this is huge. Don't let that fear stop you from doing what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't.
Right? So I think failure is just a part of everybody's life.
Yeah.
And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Hannah, but when you think of failure, just picture a straight line with an arrow on each end of the line, and in the middle of that line, a dot. And that's you. On the left side of that is failure. On the right side of that is success. And I think most people measure, like, I'm either moving closer to failure or I'm moving closer to success. Do you think that way?
Probably. More than I realize that I do.
Just probably never thought of it that way?
Yeah, don't think I've ever thought of the line concept, but I do probably do that subconsciously of like, oh, this is not doing so well, so I'm going to fail at this. Or, oh, this is doing pretty good, so I'm going to be really successful at this.
Right. Well, we're going to have a guest on here soon named Richard, and we'll talk to him. I'm excited about that. But one of the things, he kind of did a paradigm shift on me and just helped change my thinking. He's known me before I started this company, so he's known me for a while. And one of the things he told me as he was helping coach me through my life situations, he said, Nick, you talk about this failed business here and this failed business here, and maybe this job didn't work out, and you keep talking about these like you're just failing. He said, you're not moving closer to failure. You're moving through it to success.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to require you to go through those fail points just to get to where you want to go. You don't have a choice in that. You've got to fail, right? So anyway, a sense of urgency, though, I think it just looks different between a young person and a middle-aged person and even an older person. But that risk tolerance is definitely real. I think the sense of urgency, you still have it. You still experience everything that comes along with that. It just looks very, very different depending on where you are in life. I think that's pretty obvious, right? So let's go to the next one. So our youth, this is going to sound negative, but I don't mean for it to be. Being naive, right? Being naive. And here's all that means is you haven't been jaded by life yet, right? There's still that spark because you haven't been stomped on, kicked on, fired, beaten, told no, not believed in, everything that comes along with that. I mean, this is a huge advantage, and I mean that. I'm going to get into it, but how do you feel about that?
I think that's true. And with the age that I'm in, especially, like, you've got so many people telling you, like, hey, you can do it. Like, you can get over this and, like, move forward and push forward and all that stuff, especially because I am young. And like I was telling you earlier, I think if I don't know something, because like you said, I don't know the best practices to stuff, I just Google it because I know how to use technology, and I just figure out what I need to figure out. And I'm not like set to the standard of, oh, this is how it's been done before. We need to do it like this. So I kind of just try again.
Let me tell you what I heard. Okay? And I want you to react to what I say.
Okay.
Well, I sure hope that works out for you.
Yeah, you don't need people like that in your life.
Right. So, are you sure?
Yeah. And I think, like, as young people, we have that sometimes, and it's mainly from people that, I don't want to use the word jealous, but I guess that's kind of what they are. They're like, I feel like they're upset that they're not doing something like that, and they want to do stuff like that.
God, that's so good.
And so, but yeah, I live, like, with social media and all that stuff, you've got people constantly cheering you on. Granted, you also have the people that bring you down, but there's just so many resources to find positivity and to keep going with what you're doing.
Right, and I am telling you that our middle-aged listeners, they may even have a spouse in their ear. I'll even say it this way, because we just talked about it a little bit, from husbands feeling like they're the breadwinner, or they're the ones who have to protect. And there may be women listening right now. They're like, my husband treats it like it's a joke.
Yeah.
Right? Or my significant other, whoever, just, they don't take me, like, I really want to do this, and they don't take me seriously. That's called a lack of support.
Yeah.
Right? And those things really, they really matter. Those people that feel like they have their best interest typically don't have a clue is what they have. They don't. They may have your best interest, but what does they say? The road to hell is paved in good intentions. Yeah. Right. So I think naivete is a huge advantage. Pushing those boundaries, live freely. You haven't had people tell you that won't work as much. You haven't gotten into the comfort zone of a job. You know what I mean? So coming out of school and going into a job, that's even new, right?
Yeah.
That you might as well be starting a business, because you're experiencing something for the first time.
Yeah.
The difference is the school system is designed to teach you how to go keep your mouth shut, show up on time, go to the job, don't ask any questions, do what you're told, show up late and leave early. Like,
I think with what I do too, since I am in the more artistic realm of things and like being more creative and all that, it was easier for me to have this thing that I wanted to do and like want to start a business, because being creative was my outlet aside from like my job. So I was like, oh, if I go home and doodle on my iPad for an hour, that's like me being creative. And then it's just the fact that blossomed into Hannah May Letter Co. and like all that stuff that I wanted to do. Where if I was like an accountant or something else, like I feel like it would have been harder for me to
there's no doubt about
do that. Yeah. So.
Right. Well, let's move on to our next one. This is experience and network. So, as a middle-aged person, we've done a thing or two, and we've seen a thing or two. We've met some folks, right? And we're either halfway or at least much further along our career path. Being a 40-something, you're about halfway through your working career, right? Unless you just don't plan to retire, right? So we have met people that we have relationships that we can tap to and say, hey, can you help me get into this company, or can you help me launch this product? Who do I need to talk to? We figured some things that work and don't work, right? We know how people are going to react. It's amazing that we've been able to put such a great team here at the company together, right? But I think that's because I've spent half of my working life working with people I don't want to work with, people I don't like. So I was very experienced in what I didn't want. So it really wasn't that hard for me to have a vision on what I did want.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that experience, how are you going to put a company together of things that you don't know? What do you think?
I agree. I think like in my beginning stages of my career, I've learned a few things, but I know that like as I grow and get older and do different things, like I'll learn even more about like, okay, yeah, if I don't want to work here because I don't like this aspect, or I don't really want to force myself to fit into this culture that I already know that I don't like based on previous things. Yeah.
You know what else is, we figured out, hopefully by now, the things that make us tick, the things that we get excited about, the things that kind of turn us on. But I'm talking about, like, I get excited about working on that. Like, I'm fired up about that. And I think when you're young, even after you're done with college, sometimes you just don't think, I really don't know my place yet. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I know I have this degree, but I did it so that I could check that degree box. I didn't do it because I wanted to be a fill in the blank psychologist. I don't know. It's funny. We have a babysitter, great guy. I won't mention his name. I don't need anybody looking him up. But he goes to a university here in Alabama, and he started with a scholarship in music, and he's now through his first full year. And 2 weeks ago, I think he came over to babysit. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He came over and he said, "Nick, guess what? I changed my major to marketing."
Oh, that's good.
No problem. No problem. This past weekend, he came over and babysat.
He changed it again.
And wants to be a photographer.
That's fine.
I'm okay with all of that.
Do whatever you want.
But I've known dude now for well over a year.
Yeah.
And have never seen a camera. He's never even taken his phone out to take like a snapshot on his phone. Like, where did this come from? Where did the marketing come from? And so that's what I'm talking about, is like, he doesn't know what he's passionate about.
Yeah.
If he started a business today, I don't know what happened to it. I don't want to speak anything negative on him, but I'm going, you don't know what you wanted last week or the week before. I have known what I've wanted to do, Hannah, for 20 years now.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like I'm in the stage of, I know like what I want to do. Like, I know I want to constantly be doing art, but I don't know. That'll change as I grow and get older and all that stuff.
Well, the world will change around you.
And I'll have to either adjust or redo.
Right.
So.
Well, the good news is I don't think art's going anywhere anytime soon.
Let's hope not.
But let me ask you this. I've watched you, and I know how you design. The way you design today is radically different than the way you designed when you were a teenager, right or wrong?
Oh, for sure.
How are you doing it? First of all, how did you do it when you were a teenager?
How did I design?
Yeah.
On paper.
Okay. How do you do it today?
With my computer.
And
my iPad. But am I drawing my iPad
That's what
and
I
stuff.
was just saying. It's
but
crazy.
It's like, I look at stuff that I did even a year ago, 2 years ago, like my lettering and stuff, and it's completely different than what it is now. Like, I look at it and I'm like, oh God, that doesn't look good. Or I'll look at stuff that I did a few months ago and I'm like, oh, this still looks good.
Right.
And it's just drastically changed.
Will you quickly do a Google search while we're talking? When was Facebook founded?
February 2004.
2004. Okay, here's the deal. This is where I'm going. So Facebook was founded in 2004. I knew I wanted to start my own business in 2003. This year. But think about this. I know you weren't even born yet or something.
No,
I don't even mess with you. You were like
I was
6.
in 3rd grade.
Shut up. All right. But
going into 4th grade.
All right, everybody, you can just pull over for a minute and get frustrated.
I was 9.
Oh my gosh. But here's the point I was trying to make, that it pertains to your situation. What is one of the ways we make money today? And how do we deliver our messages?
Facebook.
Okay. Think about that for a second. When I had a dream to start my own company, the way I'm making money today didn't even exist yet.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't even exist yet.
Well, Instagram was just getting popular when I was in high school, college age. And that's like when I decided to do what I wanted to do. Had I wanted to do it before, I couldn't have done it.
Right? Yeah. So with our young folks, our young entrepreneurs that may be listening, the way they're going to make money for their lifetime may not even exist yet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it may not have even been invented yet. I still, like, when I think about that, blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Me and a bunch of people that I follow on Instagram, we always talk about how if Instagram went away, which it totally could, because social media doesn't have to be around forever, what would you do? Like, where would you go? And we're like, well, where we would go might not even be created yet.
Right.
So. So
I wouldn't be upset if it went away.
I would be.
I know, but
I love Instagram.
I enjoy social media, but it can be a huge distraction for me. I don't know about you, but I'll see friends who are on vacation or they just bought a new car and I'm over here just chucking away trying to grow this business. Now I'm living my dream and I am excited to be doing that. But sometimes, especially as a middle-aged entrepreneur, this is very, very real. While you're going after it hard, someone else is on vacation.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you only see their highlights, right?
Yeah. I'm the first one to say that Instagram and all of social media is fake. Like, that's my whole thing. Like, it's all someone's highlight reel. We should do a better job at posting the real stuff, even if it is hard to talk about. And people necessarily, like, don't want to see it, but, like, that's part of life and that's how it goes. But on the opposite end of, you see people on vacation, I notice a lot with like people that I follow on Handmade Letter Co. I get discouraged sometimes because they're so far ahead in what they're doing and they're so passionate about what they're doing, and like that's like my way of networking, and I've connected with tons of people all over. Like I was talking about earlier, my internet friends that I have that like live in Connecticut or New York or Texas or wherever. It's hard sometimes to watch them be so successful in what they're doing and me feel like I've been left behind because our journeys are different, and that's just something that I have to realize.
Fun that we could connect on that one point of information. Yeah, there's such similarities in when you start, and it's funny because it feels like we're worlds apart and where we're starting as an entrepreneur and the similarities and of course the compare and contrast. Okay, so a youthful willingness to learn, right? I don't know. You're conditioned already. When you came out of school, you're already in this place of I've been learning. For people my age, most likely haven't picked up and read a book in 10, 15, 20 years. They are not in a position where they're conditioned to learn. So that young, successful entrepreneurs that have an unending willingness to do and be and learn more, and this can be a very competitive advantage as a young entrepreneur. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, if I need to learn something, I can just Google it. And it's so easy for me to like figure it out or watch a YouTube video on how to do it. And it's easy for me to get the information. Like the whole reason I'm able to produce a podcast, which I produce this one.
Yes, you do.
Is because I watched YouTube videos on how to edit a podcast in GarageBand. And now I've figured it out. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And it's just like, I can go online and learn whatever I need to. And that's just nuts. And that's what I've done with my business and like my own stuff. I'm like, how do you apply for an EIN? I don't know what this is. Do I need to be a sole proprietor or an LLC? Do I need to be, how do you ship these products? Like all that stuff. So it's pretty easy for me now.
You can go. I mean, we have the world at our fingertips at this point.
For sure.
And I really can't think of anything that you can't learn. Hey, here's a tip though. You want a business opportunity tip? Think of something that you want to learn, YouTube it, and if you can't find what you need to learn, there's your business opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
If
you teach people how to do it.
You teach people how to do it, all of a sudden you're a business owner and you got it on lockdown.
Yeah.
All right, here's my last bullet point. And I want to ask a question before I go into this last one.
Okay.
All right. Do you ever feel like you're not motivated to keep going?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Tell me about that a little bit.
I think I was talking to my friends about it. I think like I feel pulled in so many different directions with like wanting to be successful here and wanting to do Handmade Letter Co stuff, but also wanting to hang out with my significant other and my friends and making sure I call my family and all that stuff. Where at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to work on anything. Like I don't want to wake up early and do this. I want to sleep because I've not slept because I've been working on other stuff or hanging out with my friends and all that. And so I feel like I've been in a season of life where I felt like that a lot more recently, and I'll get in spurts where I'm super motivated to keep going, and I think I just have to hone in on those moments and those seasons when I'm like super motivated and just like go for when I'm in these seasons where I'm not as motivated or I'm drained to do stuff. That's okay because I've worked harder in the seasons where I am motivated because like you said, I don't have the responsibility of whatever. So if I'm like, oh, I'm going to work real hard right now and then focus on other stuff at different points of my life. So.
Oh, that's so cool that you have identified the things that'll slow you down a little bit and remember to go back and highlight the things that have pushed you forward and the time that you've put into it. It's funny that you mentioned that you don't have the responsibility to move you forward, because literally my last bullet point for an agingpreneur is responsibility, right? This is huge. When I don't feel motivated, when I don't feel like coming to the office, which I might add is pretty rare. Like, I think maybe in 2 years, probably I can count on one hand where I just didn't feel like going today.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when anyway, but that's beside the point. I am very, very easily motivated when I walk through the door and I get a kiss on the cheek from my wife, and my dog's crawling up my leg, and my kids say, "Hey, Daddy, I'm glad you're home," because I know at that point why I'm doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so that responsibility of providing, I told you earlier, providing and protecting my family, the bills, like we got the responsibility of paying our mortgage and our car loans, and some of that may be for our younger folks too, but you know, if you own a house in your 20s, early 20s, that's pretty rare. But we founded a new business. We have these responsibilities. Those motivate us regularly, at the very least every month when we get the bill in, right? So what I wanted to do is highlight, though, Hannah, several things, the advantages of both. We could easily go into the disadvantages of both.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And maybe we'll talk about that, but I don't want to discourage anybody, because if I could help anybody know that there are connections to be made, just because you're a middle-aged person doesn't mean you've aged out of your opportunity, right? And just because you're young doesn't mean you shouldn't go do things. The advantages and the disadvantages of both places in life, that's it. It's just a difference. You're just in a different place. One of the most common reasons that somebody in their middle ages wouldn't start a business is fear.
Yeah.
And that fear doesn't seem to exist near as much in your 20s.
Yeah.
Right.
I definitely go through it sometimes just because I'm afraid of like messing up, and like I'm afraid of, I guess, looking stupid online, especially just because, like you said, it is a highlight reel, and like I don't want to fail and then people think like, oh, she just couldn't do it, when that's not it. Right. But
can you name one thing, and maybe you already have, maybe it's the person who was wearing your shirt, I don't know, but the one thing where you did something and you go, okay, I'm doing the right thing.
Oh, definitely the shirts.
The shirts was it for you?
Yeah, just because like seeing the impact that had on for the community. Like at the end of the year, the community foundation that I donated the money to sent basically like a PDF of where the money went that they raised and like how much they raised, and it said like this helped an elderly man get a new washing machine, or this helped a couple fix their roof, and like all that stuff. So like that was really cool, and that was like I was like, oh, I did that. And like with the community, like I hate saying I did it because it was really the community like sharing it on social media and all that stuff that helped me do it. But like knowing that made such an impact, like made me just like feel like I was like, okay, yeah, I'm on the right path, and like this is what I'm supposed to be doing and all that stuff.
That's so good. So something you created had a impact on your community.
Yeah, and it was nuts. Like I remember when I took in the check to the community foundation, she was like, oh, are you with a company? And I was like, oh no, like this is just like I made a shirt and sold it online, and this is all the money that I got from it. And she was like, oh my gosh. And they were so nice and so just super sweet, and I really like am glad that I got to do that and help them.
That's freaking
I don't know
awesome.
if you ever knew this story. I don't know.
I did not know that. I'm hearing this for the first time. I'm excited. I'm like, yes.
I was on the news. Like they came to this building and they found me. They called and they were like, where are you at? And I was like, I'm at work. And they were like, oh, okay. And they came here and interviewed me and all that stuff.
Was I not here yet?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. That's a whole other story right there. But something you created impacted your immediate community, and those people may have gotten helped.
Yeah.
But you can definitely say they did get help because of the work that you did, right? And yes, nobody can do anything on their own,
Oh yeah, for
right?
sure.
So, I mean, myself, any business, they can't do anything without participation of others.
Yeah, it's about
Period.
finding a good support system, no matter your age. Like if it's your spouse or your family members or your friends that you make, like or people that you go and network with, just having them and their support is truly like what gets me through. Like I know if I'm having a rough day, I'll talk to my friends or
Right.
call my mom or my brother, and they'll push me to do what I need to do.
So I always wanted to build a team of people that I wanted to be around. You spend the majority of your life away from your home, away from your family, at your vocation.
With these people.
With these people, right. So I already knew I wanted to own a business. You know that. You've heard that. So my defining moment for me when I said, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm doing it not because of the money that we're making, but because of the impact we're making in a life, was for one of our team members whose wife was pregnant. When they had a baby, they had it real early.
A month
early, but was able to say in a 10-minute phone call with him, don't come back till October.
Yeah.
Like, don't come back. Don't pick up the phone. Don't answer your emails. Go love on your little girl. Go love on your wife. They're going to need you. We got this. And he took a month off and did not have to worry about a thing. And it was the ability for me to be able to make that decision and to impact
His
what
life.
he said, make an impact on him.
Yeah.
Because I know where he came from, and my expectation is that would have been a 2-day leave of absence, and he would have been getting blown up the whole time.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think that's right.
Right? So there's going to come a point where you realize your gift, your abilities, the things that you can do that you can't really explain why you can do it. Yes, it is to generate income for your family. Yes, it is to create and to fulfill a desire that you have been given in your heart. But that was given for a reason. And I believe it's for you to be able to impact those around you. And I believe that people are just going to be put into your life when you step out and you do what you're called to do in your business. There's going to come a time where you're going to have an aha moment, because the thing that you created, that you overcame all of this fear, all of these obstacles, all of the naysayers, even yourself, to get out and go impact the community. And you're going to do that, and you're going to impact your community, and you're going to realize that you stepped out for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. So I want to encourage you as we wrap up. Hannah, any last words for our listener who may be on the fence? They're trying to figure out, they're trying to overcome. What would you say to them to help them?
I say go for it. Just like you said in the last episode, I think, like if you have a full-time job but you're super passionate about something, try getting up an hour earlier and spending like an hour, 45 minutes doing like one small task. Like you don't have to hit the ground running with this. Like if it's something you're passionate about, like work slowly until you can leave what you're not as passionate about and fulfill that full-time.
So what you're saying is action cures fear.
Yeah, just do it.
I love it.
Like, what's his name? Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video?
Yeah.
Where he's like, just do it!
Do it!
Yeah, so I say just do it. Like, yeah, it's really scary, and yeah, there'll be fear, but I really do think there's fear in any age, regardless of
I love the way
what's going on.
Jim Carrey puts it out there. I think he was doing some kind of an interview. He said, you know what? I watched my dad, and he went out and he failed at something that he hated. It's like if there's the potential to fail either way, I'm at least going to go fail at something that I want to do.
Yeah, that you want to do. And if you like, the reason for this podcast is to talk to the people that are in 9-to-5s that they don't like. Mm-hmm. Just because you're starting something on the side, like I said, doesn't mean that it has to be your full time. Like tomorrow,
that's right.
You're working for the future, and like to grow something that you're proud of, and to grow something that can be your full time. Like if it takes you on a different journey than it has like other people that you see, like that's okay too.
Yeah, so responsibly taking action.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't just go in tomorrow and quit your job.
Do not terrify your wife and kids.
No.
Or your husband and kids if you're a woman listener, which I hope you are. Take action, but do it responsibly.
Yeah.
Like do test, figure it out, get up early, stay late. And I will tell you this, if you're in a job, be loyal to the job, because your talent will never overcome your character, ever. All right, so let's wrap it up for the show. Hannah, thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. So the name of your website?
Is hannahmayletterco.com.
And your Instagram?
Hannah May Letterco.
Anything else that's not Hannah May Letterco, or can they just do a search for Hannah May Letterco?
Everything Hannah May Letterco. My
right.
email, my Facebook, my Instagram, my website, all that stuff is under the same thing.
So you need to go check that out if you're listening. She has incredible pictures that are already up on her website, definitely on the Instagram page. And if you need some lettering done, some creative lettering done, you need to hit that contact box on her website, and you need to get in touch with her, because she's reasonably priced and does unbelievable work.
Thanks. I'll put all this in the show notes, as well as our socials, so people can follow us, because if you haven't caught on by this whole episode, I also work for Nick the Marketer, and I'm the producer of this podcast. And if you have any questions, y'all can email me at hannah@nickthemarketer.com.
Hannah, thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
All right, y'all go out and crush it. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.